Hello, hello. How are you doing? Hope everybody's doing well. This is Weston Means with eXp Realty once again, your San Francisco Bay Area realtor, specializing in the East Bay market, but also doing business in San Francisco, as well as Silicon Valley, and San Jose. But really, my geographic location is in the East Bay. Um, but I have teammates all over the Bay Area that can help serve in any county of the Bay Area. So please feel free to reach out. I also have contacts in Napa County, Sonoma, and all that type of thing as well. So really, if you have any questions about any markets in California, I can get you the answers. I myself specialize in the Bay Area market, but feel free to reach out and I'll let you know how I can help you. Now, we're going to go over the numbers for October 2024 for the four counties that I really specialize in, those being Alameda County, Contra Costa County, Marin County, and San Francisco County. So let's dive right in. Just reviewing the numbers a little bit before I began filming this video, I am seeing a bit of a trend. It looks like, for the most part, unsold inventory went down considerably from September to October. So what I think the reason for that is that there were less sellers listing on the market in October than there were in September. And that's probably because we were coming close to a major election this year, which just happened, a couple of weeks ago. So that really affects how people think of real estate and when they decide to list, and when they think buyers are going to be out in the market and everything like that. So what typically happens is both buyers and sellers put a pause on their searches right around the election. Usually they put a pause on it right after the election because it's a little unclear how the new president candidate is going to affect the economy. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there, which leads to folks usually opting to wait it out until there's a little more clarity on how the situation is either going to improve or um, get worse. So right now we're seeing that from September to October, unsold inventory went down in all of these counties pretty significantly, which means that the homes that were on the market were being sold, and probably not much more inventory was coming on in October. Now let's dive into the real numbers for each of these counties. Let's go one by one. So let's start with Alameda County. The median price this October was 1.266 million. That was a 0.1% decrease from September. So not really much of a change there, but this tells me that the peak in Alameda County as a whole in terms of sale price was probably September this year, because we usually see one last peak in sales prices right before the holidays. So it's usually September or October. This year, I think the peak in Alameda County was in September. So that was a 2.1% increase from last year. That makes sense because rates were elevated all year last year. In October, they sort of came down for a little bit, but then they went back up. So I'm not sure why it's still really going up, but any kind of rate changes usually take maybe a couple months to actually reflect in how it affects the market. So it's not that surprising. Now, home sales in Alameda County were 23.1% higher than they were last October. so 23.1% more sales. Again, things have picked up a little more this year. A lot of buyers who have been waiting out the market, trying to predict when the next, you know, downturn is going to be, have given up. I myself, I was predicting that things would get easier for buyers and things like that. But, there are tools out there that help uh, my buyer clients. They help myself when I bought my first home this year. Tools like temporary buy downs. There are a lot of lenders out there that offer these temporary buy downs, which are essentially, there are like two major ones. There are 3-2-1 buy downs, and there are 2-1 buy downs. So a 3-2-1 buy down is where the interest rate that you have on your loan is 3% lower than what you lock it at when you get your loan for the first year. For the second year, it's 2% lower. And for the third year, it's 1% lower. And then years 4 to 30 are fixed at the rate that you locked the loan at. So in my case, we locked our loan at 6%. We got a 3-2-1 buy down that was paid by the seller, because for some reason, a lot of times these programs are required to be a credit from the seller during escrow. And so for our first year of the mortgage, it's going to be 3%. Next year, it'll be 4%. And then the next year, it'll be 5%. And then years 4 to 30, it'll go back to 6% if we don't refinance before then. And that's the beauty of these programs, is that for the most part, they allow you to refinance with no penalty. So there's no prepayment penalty. That's what it's called in the lending world. And as long as there's no prepayment penalty, you can always refinance whenever interest rates do come down. So since I've purchased my first home, interest rates have actually been climbing back up. So we actually got in at a really good time. But it's predicted by many analysts, real estate analysts, economic analysts, that interest rates should come down next year. So we'll see how that pans out. But if they do, we'll be able to refinance. If they go below 5%, we'll be able to refinance next year and get a lower payment that's fixed for the life of the loan. So, there are definitely tools out there in every market, and I've seen a lot of people, just saying that, oh, it's not the right timing, blah, 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 and, that I gotta wait until interest rates come down. But the problem is, when interest rates come down, everyone is thinking to jump back in the market. So it's a bit of a herd mentality. Everyone jumps back, and that drives up the prices again. So I think really it comes down to when you are at a point in your life where you're ready to buy a home, you're ready to stop renting, and you're willing to come up with a plan, maybe game plan with a real estate professional like myself, and figure out a way where you can get your payment to a place that's comfortable to you, and get yourself favorable terms where maybe you might be able to refinance into a lower rate whenever interest rates do come down. So that was a long-winded explanation of my view of the market right now, but let's get back to these numbers. So going back to Alameda County, now the unsold inventory was at 1.9 months. This is still definitely a seller's market. Month to month, it decreased 29.6%. So from September to October this year, there was 29.6% less unsold inventory, which means it seems to be a slowdown in more listings coming available. However, that was 18.8% more unsold inventory than there was last year. So last year we had a pretty critical inventory problem. That is what was causing the prices to still hold high. In fact, as a whole, last year, I believe it was an increase of about 5% in most counties. So, this year we are seeing more inventory, but month to month from September to October, there was less inventory. Now, the median time on market in Alameda County was 14 days this October. That is pretty fast, 0% month to month change from September, so about the same level of competition for buyers. Year to year, that was 7.7% more time on market. So a little bit easier for buyers in this market in comparison to last October. All right, now moving on to Contra Costa County. The median price in Contra Costa County was $869,500. That was a 0.7% increase from September. Pretty nominal there. From last year, it was an increase of 5.4%, which is actually pretty sizable. So, I mean, considering how high the interest rates are, that is a pretty good increase in average sale prices. So, what that tells me is that homes in Contra Costa County have still been appreciating despite the higher interest rates. Now, home sales in Contra Costa County year to year increased 10.8%, and month to month from September to October, they increased 20.8%. This is similar to Alameda County. It's also similar to Marin County. In San Francisco County, we saw a much greater increase in the sales from September to October. So, this may be a San Francisco investor kind of outlook where a lot of folks wanted to get into homes before the election. Or it could just be that many of these companies are requiring folks to be back in the office. So this year we've just seen a gross beefing up in sales and sale prices. So going back to Contra Costa County, let's just finish this out. Unsold inventory was at 2.1 months, similar to Alameda County. Also down by a similar amount from September to October, 27.6%. Year to year was a 40% increase of unsold inventory. So quite a bit more inventory has been available in Contra Costa County in comparison to last year. The median time on market was 15 days. That was 21.1% less than in September. So what we're seeing here is this median price rose in October from September to October, and the median time on market went down. So the competition in Contra Costa County actually increased in October. So it looks like in Contra Costa County, the final peak before the holidays is probably going to be October. And November, I'm sure we're going to see it decrease a bit. Year to year, that was a 7.1% increase. That's pretty similar to Alameda. So still a little bit easier to buy a home in Contra Costa County in comparison to last October, 2023. Now, Marin County, the median price was 1.7 this October, 1.7 million. Month to month, that was a 2.9% decrease from September to October. And year to year was a 0.7% decrease in the median price. So, sometimes I don't even know why I include these numbers in here because Marin County is a weird one. There's a lot of different price points, but it gives you a good idea of what the median price range is in the county. So, for those who are looking to move into the area, this is more of a sort of a higher price point. San Francisco County as well are at a higher price point. For those who are more in the middle income areas or maybe even slightly decreased income areas, these are more what you would probably be looking at. So home sales in Marin County were up 25.7%. from last year, and month to month they were up 45.8%. So there's been an increase from September to October of quite a bit. So it looks like buyers were getting a little more aggressive in Marin County this October. Unsold inventory was at 2 months, very similar to Alameda and Contra Costa counties. Um, Month to month, that was a 44.4% decrease. So I think this is the increase in home sales is accounting for, well, this is probably caused by this. There's less unsold inventory because it's being bought up at a higher rate here. So there's increases in home sales year to year and month to month, pretty considerable right here. And so a pretty considerable decrease in unsold inventory. Now the median time on market was 53 days. This is pretty normal for Marin County. Like I said, there are a lot of varied price points, and so the median time on market gets thrown off a bit. But month to month, that was a 15.2% increase in the median time on market. So actually, although there seemed to be more sales and less inventory, the time on market was actually higher. So that's a little bit weird, but I guess that just means that prices are holding firm in Marin County. And despite buyers going out there and being a little more aggressive, they still had quite a few options when they were buying. Because 53 days on the market is quite some time. Year to year, that was a 21.8% increase. That is the biggest increase so far out of these three counties. So quite a bit easier to buy a home in Marin County this year than it was last year, last October. All right, now let's move on to the wild card one. This is San Francisco County. This year is a big year for San Francisco County because, like I've said again and again, a lot of tech companies are requiring workers to move back into the office. So that has caused prices to start going back up. They did come down right after the pandemic and after remote work was really prevalent. Now we're transitioning back to sort of more of at least a hybrid kind of a workflow. So a lot of employees are being required to be in the office at least a few days a week. So that requires them to be geographically closer to the offices, which means a lot of people are moving back to San Francisco County and Silicon Valley and places like that. So median price in San Francisco County was 1.75 million this October. That was a month-to-month increase of 7.7%. So it looks like the final peak before the holidays might be October this year for San Francisco County. I mean, we'll take a look at the numbers from November next month, but I'm predicting it's probably going to be the last peak before the holidays, before a lot of folks go back home or just, hunker down for the holidays and spend more time with family and not time out searching for homes. Year to year, that was a 6.1% increase in median price. So this is the most significant increase in median price out of all of these counties. Contra Costa comes in at a fairly close second at 5.4% from last year. But, the conditions surrounding San Francisco County have resulted in it being the county where median price has grown the most from last October. All right, now moving on to home sales. Year to year, the home sales in San Francisco County increased by 23.2%. That is actually similar to Alameda County and Marin County. Home sales didn't jump as much in Contra Costa County year to year. But, this is again because a lot of buyers are figuring out that, the longer they wait, the harder it's going to become to get into a home. And so I think what's happened is a lot of buyers have realized that they're never going to be able to time the market perfectly. And so for many of them, it makes more sense to get in while they can. Maybe they won't get the most ideal terms, but they might be able to utilize a rate buy down program, or they might be able to utilize down payment assistance, and they can get into the home. And when rates come down, they can refinance and get a payment that is more comfortable for them. So month to month, that was an increase in home sales of almost 65%, which is very significant. So that means sales ramped up quite a bit in October, from September to October. So 65% more sales. That is very considerable, which means that buyers got quite a bit more aggressive in October and started buying more homes than they did in September. Unsold inventory was at 1.7 months. That was a 48.5% decrease in unsold inventory, and that makes sense because there was a 65% increase in sales. So there's, almost 50% less homes that were unsold by the end of October. Year to year, that was a 32% decrease in unsold inventory. So that means there's actually been less at the end of this October, there was 32% less listings that were still for sale than there were in October 2023 in San Francisco County. And let's see, there was only one other county that had both negative numbers from month to month and year to year for unsold inventory, and that was Marin County. And then Alameda and Contra Costa counties, there were actually more listings that were unsold this October, at the end of this October, than there were at the end of October 2023. So that means in Marin and San Francisco counties, buyers have gotten more aggressive. In Alameda and Contra Costa counties, there have been more listings, and buyers may have gotten a little more aggressive as well, but there have been a lot more listings, which means that it's been easier for buyers because they have more options to choose from. More supply means more options, which means less competition for buyers. So that's what's been happening in Alameda and Contra Costa counties, and I've seen it quite a bit this year. I've had a lot of clients who have been able to, negotiate credits from sellers, and purchase homes at prices that the owners, the sellers who are selling, didn't even buy their homes for, because a lot of these sellers purchased their homes in 2020, 2021, when the interest rates were at, close to 3% or lower, maybe even 2%. And so they were bidding against a ton of other buyers, and these sale prices got really, really high. I remember in 2020 and in 2021, I saw multiple homes get more than 40, 50 offers. It was just a crazy time. And so this year, interest rates are quite a bit higher. They're, right now they're hovering at around 7%. And that has taken away a lot of purchase power from buyers. And so sellers who have to sell right now, a lot of them are selling at a loss in comparison to what they bought their properties for. So it's been a very fortuitous time for buyers who have been looking in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. Not really the same story in San Francisco County because competition has increased this year. Now, median time on the market was 36 days. Still not moving as fast as Alameda or Contra Costa counties, but this is fairly normal for San Francisco County. It's a bit of a higher price point, so things don't move quite as fast. There's a little more of consideration and thinking about whether this is a good purchase or not. Month to month, that was an increase of 22%. So that means in comparison to September this year, October was actually a bit easier on buyers, even though home sales rose considerably from September to October, and the level of unsold inventory went down. So that's kind of surprising, but yeah, it's looks like it was a bit easier for buyers in October in comparison to September, but there were a lot more sales. And at the end of October, there was considerably less inventory available than there was in September. Year to year, that was a 1.4% decrease. So this makes sense. Again, last year interest rates were quite a bit higher. Well, actually, they weren't quite a bit higher. They were about the same, but the market was not as aggressive as it is this year. And that's because a lot of these companies hadn't really made it a rule that folks had to be back in the office yet. That was just coming out. It was a burgeoning thing that I started hearing about towards the end of last year. And so now it is a thing. It's been put out there, and a lot of folks are being required to be back in the office, which is why the market has been a little more competitive this year. So I hope that gives you a pretty good overview of what the market was in October. Obviously, this gives us an outlook into what things might be like right now. I can tell you, as someone who's been in the market recently, all around the Bay Area, it is still quite a bit easier to buy a home than it was last year. However, that's not true in San Francisco County. Even though the median time on market is considerably higher in San Francisco County in comparison to Alameda and Contra Costa counties, sellers know their value. They know that these companies are requiring folks to be back in the office, so they're willing to hold out until they get the prices that they want. Whereas in Alameda and Contra Costa counties, I think sellers are a bit more panicked, and it's because a lot of these sellers bought their properties at extremely high prices 3 or 4 years ago. And so now that interest rates are higher, it's a little unclear when these interest rates are going to come down. And so and then with a new president and all that, a lot of folks who want to make a move within the next few years don't want to be locked into a place where the interest rates are hovering at a high rate and then they're just not able to unload their investment. And so this is a good opportunity for buyers. This is why I went ahead and purchased my first home with my fiance this year, when rates took a dip for a brief period. And it was a very fortuitous time. I feel very fortunate. I feel extremely lucky, and that's why I'm here to share this information with all of you. So if you have any other questions about the market, please feel free to reach out to me. These are my insights based on what I've seen in the market, what I've seen working with buyers and sellers in actually many of these counties. So if you have any other questions, send them to me. I'll have my contact info down in the description. Feel free to leave a comment, and I would love to connect with you. But for now, take care, and I will see you in the next one.